So eBay's at it again. They've just released a new seller update, and the question comes up now, is this the end for all the small sellers on eBay? Well, we're going to tackle that very subject. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the channel. I'm PROF Sales.
And I'm Just Ask Kaaren.
And we are glad you're here. This channel is about being an entrepreneur, being a business for yourself, e-commerce, selling on e-commerce platforms like eBay and Amazon. And we are very glad to see you guys. There's a live chat going on right now if you want to join us. If not, you can obviously leave us a question or comment after the show post, which we really like for you to do so we can interact with you guys. And we're glad to see everyone today on a Wednesday.
Yeah, and already the chat is just it's on fire, right? Gloom and doom. The world is ending. The apocalypse is upon us.
Yeah. So this channel, like I said, we'd like to get questions and comments from you guys. So please leave us one. And also check out the description down below for all sorts of helpful links. And what should they do if they like the video, Kaaren?
They should smash the like button. I didn't arg at all.
She didn't do her pirate, but that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
But the chat is starting to fill up. We already have about 50, 60 people watching, and I'm sure more will come in because this is an incredibly controversial, hot topic, I guess. It's just come out in the last probably, 48 hours or so, 72 hours. And it's this idea about the seller update.
Well, and it's the funny thing about change. And
change bad.
Change. Oh, don't change.
Sometimes
right?
it is.
And I'm struck by so many people are weighing in. It's kind of like Dick's put out and I'm not going to get into this big political discussion about that, but Dick's put out this press release about something that they're going to do a little differently, and everybody's immediately jumping, oh yay for them and this and that. It's just like this eBay change, right? Everybody's weighing in on how they think it's going to affect them and how it's going to have this negative impact. And I can't help but be struck by so many comments I'm reading are stating things that actually aren't true. Like they're not going to happen. Like, oh, upon further reading, or maybe I should read it further, So we decided to do this. We don't always jump on the bandwagon for things like this, but I think it's important to discuss it. And not to discuss the hypotheticals of it, although we'll touch a little bit on the if-thens and the what-ifs, but we read it. And we want to talk about what eBay is saying that's going to happen and how real people are saying that it's affecting them. Does that make sense?
It does.
It's really easy to kind of guess. And one of the biggies is, and I don't mean to spoil it, but one of the biggies is, whenever there's change like this or whenever you tweak the return meter or whatever, all of a sudden people are going to become dishonest, or all of a sudden all these duplicitous people are going to come out of the woodwork and it's going to adversely affect your returns or your ROI or your sell-through or your this or that.
You are stealing the thunder.
Oh, sorry. So anyway.
Just kidding. You're jumping way ahead.
There's like the little preview of what we're going to talk about, because it's not enough. Like it's unacceptable, I think, in business. If you're going to be good at it, to just always go around with these knee-jerk reactions, right?
That's true.
Like, and we've always stood on the rock. We've always stood on the foundation that education is power here, and you really need to educate yourself and not just, ping pong or react to the hearsay of other people. So that's my little emotional vomit for the beginning of this. So take it away.
Yeah, and first of all, I'm just going to say that, to echo what Kaaren said, anytime eBay comes out with one of these seller updates, which they seem to do 2 or 3 times a year, it provokes a pretty predictable response, I think, in the reselling community. I don't know what kind of response it provokes from buyers. I'm not sure. But I know, we see the seller side of it. And the majority of people who react to these updates, either on YouTube or in Facebook groups or forums, is negative. Not negative in the sense they're negative, but just that, hey, this is going to be worse for us. And sometimes it is worse, but worse is sort of subjective as well. And I'm a big believer in, you need to see all sides of an issue as best you can, analyze it from all sides, and then make decisions rather than just, like you said, the knee-jerk reaction, oh, this is terrible, it's the worst thing ever. I think you have to be realistic about it and look at it from every aspect you can.
Well, and don't you dare, like, how many times have we seen people, this is like my cautionary tale. Don't you dare make drastic changes to how you do you,
Right.
or how you run your business based on something, you know, you got on some bandwagon, or you heard somebody said they heard somebody else said about the changes that are being made. Like it never ceases to astonish me how people react
Right.
emotionally about things that they hear with regard to this. And you really, does it take some time? Yes. But if you're going to be good at this thing, you know, selling on eBay and all this stuff, you've got to always educate yourself, because we have several friends in the chat right now. This isn't your first rodeo, right? Some folks we know have been selling on eBay since, you know, when eBay was just barely eBay. You know, we've got,
when it was D-Bay or C-Bay.
But you know what I'm saying? So just educate yourself, and let's just kind of take a look together at what this proposed or this change means.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen the new seller update for spring, check your inbox on your eBay account. It's probably there, an email, and there's a link that will take you to some web pages that show you sort of all the changes they're doing. So we thought we would talk about some of those and get you guys' reaction. I guess how am I trying to say this? I try to take anything that eBay says with these updates with a grain of salt, because I know it will morph and change somewhat, even from today to what it rolls out to be. Like, even if it morphs and changes on the back end, where they don't directly tell you this is going to happen or that's going to happen, because that's just their business model, right? I mean, all these big e-commerce platforms are evolving and changing as the marketplace, as the way that people are buying and selling is changing. And so there will be changes to this, but we can only go on what they say right now. So I'm going to show you guys, we're going to look at a little bit of a screen share here, and we'll see if we can get that to come up. So the first thing that a lot of people are probably going to key on is the simplified returns, because returns are a potential source of frustration for a lot of sellers. So we're going to talk about returns for a minute. They give you a little brief synopsis here, saying what you need to know. I'm going to see if I can zoom this in so you can see a little better. And they're reducing the number of return options, and top-rated sellers will be required to offer 30-day free returns to be eligible to receive your discount. Now, that's only if you want to be top-rated or stay top-rated. That's not everyone, so that's important to remember. But starting in May of 2018, as you can see right here, highlighted, they're going to be offering 1 of 5 return policy options. There's no returns, 30-day buyer-paid returns, 30-day free returns, 60-day paid returns, or 60-day free returns. So these 4 right here are kind of variations of each other. So you can still offer no returns. That's still an option. You can do 30-day buyer paid or 60-day buyer paid, or you can do free returns where you pay for their return shipping. A couple other things are going to happen here. No more restocking fees. They're not going to allow those, which I think I'm okay with that. Like, I don't know, that's a big thing anyway, but you know, I know some people offer them. And it says here, now this is what's interesting. Starting on June 1st, when you offer free returns, you can decide to issue partial refunds to buyers. And I think I have that page up over here, right here, which is the seller protection page. So it says when you offer a free return, you'll be able to offer a partial refund if a return item has been used or damaged, and eBay will protect you. So how will they protect you? What does that look like? And they say, for example, if a buyer uses or damages an item and returns it, you can issue a partial refund and we'll take it from there. If they escalate the case, the buyer will take care of it, plus we'll protect your reputation from any negative feedback. They will also protect you from events outside of your control and support you when things don't go as planned. Like those could be like when you ship on time and arrives late, if there's carrier disruptions, if the buyer retracts their bid or doesn't pay, if the buyer changes their order or requests something extra, unusual complaints or returns, or if the buyer returns on after they open it, use it, or send it back in a condition other than you send it in. So I'm going to come back to you guys. So on the surface of that, guys, I mean, a bunch of things there. Free returns is without a doubt expensive. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat that. If I have to offer free returns to the 3, 4, 5% of the people who get returns, it will cost money. No doubt about it. It will not be, it will be an expense for sure. But a few things I want to mention, and you mentioned one of them earlier. It's highly unlikely, in my opinion, which take that for what it's worth, but I'm on YouTube, so whatever. I must be an expert, right? It's highly unlikely that because of this new policy that there will be more scammers that will take advantage of free returns. Will there be people who take advantage of free returns? Yes. They're the same people who would have paid for a return postage in the past. They're not a scammer. They're just taking advantage of the new policy. Will there now suddenly be people who will pounce on this as their ability to return things and buy things just to return them and get their return for free? Why would they do that? Like, why would those people suddenly flock to eBay and say, oh, I'm going to order a bunch of stuff and then return it and get free return shipping? Like, I get that logic. Like, why would there be more of those people? There's the same people are going to be there buying, and will some more of them take advantage of it? Yes. But will it draw more people to eBay to take advantage of free shipping and screw over sellers by making them pay for return shipping on something they never really intended to keep in the first place? Like, that logic doesn't make sense to me. Am I missing something?
Well, you've got some folks that respectfully disagree with you.
Yeah, well, I understand, guys, if you disagree and you think that there will be more of those people come out, but where do you think those people are right now? Are they sitting on the sidelines and not buying because there aren't free returns? Maybe. But if they're buying, guess what? If more of them come and start buying, that's going to be more sales. That's going to be more sales. It's going to be some more returns too, but it's going to be more sales. By your own definition, if this is going to draw more people to eBay to buy things, isn't that on some total better for us? Even though we will have free returns. Don't get me wrong, that's an expense, no doubt. But your return percentage, I don't think is going to go up. Like when they went to the 60-day return policy, there wasn't this big, huge change in return percentages. There just wasn't.
Not for us.
Not for us and not for a lot of people. So I think that it's highly unlikely that's going to impact you negatively. But, I mean, with anything else, we'll see. The other parts of it that are interesting to me is that this partial refund business. Now, that is kind of interesting to see how that's going to play out because, you know, there's going to be sellers who are going to take advantage of that. There's going to be sellers who are going to say, well, you sold this, I sold this to you new for $50 and you opened it and sent it back. And so I'm only going to return $10 of your price because now I can't sell it as new. Which is probably true, but they can probably still sell it as pre-owned and maybe for 30, you know, who knows? So I think there will be some of that. And how much will eBay allow you to return of that, you know, to not give back to the buyer? I don't know. I don't know. Like that part to me is kind of interesting how that's, and I don't think eBay even knows that. Like, I don't think they know how that's going to play out.
Well, and am I jumping ahead to say, and, you know, Luke already suggested that, you know, you can always not do it. And you're absolutely right. You can always opt in or out of whatever eBay puts on the table, right?
Right.
You know, and what we talked in great detail about, you know, what's the trade-off? You know, losing that top-rated seller plus badge and ability,
right?
Versus what it's going to cost you. What's the offset? Like, how does that offset? Like, what's worth more to you?
That's exactly right. And I got to tell you guys, and I told Kaaren this. We've been top rated for a long time. I might give it up. I don't know, because like people have said rightly, when they reduced the final value fee discount from 20 to 10, I mean, that was a hit for sure. Like that cost something. And I was like, well, all right, but it's still a discount. There's still some advantages, but I don't know if it would affect my sales or not. I'm always thinking about things like that. And if I have to eat returns on, say, shoes, which will be expensive, because the reality is a lot of buyers will pay more to ship that shoe back than I paid to ship it to them, especially if it's free shipping. I may give it up. I may give it up and say, hey, you want to send this back? Great, but you're gonna have to pay for the return. I might just give it up because I don't know that it'll be worth it. That is something, I don't look at it as like eBay is screwing me over. I look at it as like they're changing their business model. So I need to reassess mine because a lot of my business flows through eBay. I need to decide if it still makes sense to keep that top rated seller status. And on the face of it right now, I'm thinking it might not. So maybe we'll just give it up. We'll no longer be part of the TRS club. Will they take back our card, our membership?
Yes.
Do we still get to go to do we get to the country club? Do we still get to play rounds of golf?
And all the perks that come along with it. But you kind of stepped on the prof sales soapbox there for a second. And it's not like eBay's not out to get you. Like as much as it might feel that way, they're not out to screw the seller, right? So it's just like we make decisions on arguably a much smaller scale than they do, but we make decisions to better our business for our business. And they're doing the same thing, right?
Right.
I mean, a lot of that, like their competition, and whether it's apples to apples or not, but you know, Amazon, Walmart, all these new, like everybody's shifting, right? Brick and mortar.
Free returns.
The free returns, right? That's not
you're
new
all over
concept, right? So, and there's all this debate about, you know, brick and mortar. What's the longevity of something like that? And are we going to go as we progress into the Jetsons lifestyle of the future? You know, are we only going to be shopping online? And what does that look like? It all has to, not just us, like they have to evolve too. And they can't be, you know, who wants to be left? If Amazon's leading the way in how returns are processed or how items are put out into the e-commerce universe, and if eBay just sits back and does nothing about it, guess what?
Right.
We are going to suffer from that. Like they will too, but do you know what I'm saying? They have to stay viable. They have to stay competitive.
Yeah.
And so it's never like, I don't, you know, maybe I'm just not at this long enough, but I never look at it like that. Does it suck sometimes for smaller sellers or even individuals that do it as something, you know, to make money to go camping or whatever? Yeah, but I've never ever looked at it like they're out to get me.
No, I mean they're out to have a viable business model, increase wealth for their shareholders, you know, run a profitable business to where they can pay their expenses and turn a profit. I mean, that's their business too, just like it's our business. And I've said this once, I'll say it again. There is no way possible eBay, I should start that one. There's no way possible eBay can change something and it be great for everyone. It's not, it's not going to happen. It's going to impact some people negatively. It might be buyers, it might be sellers, it might be top rated people, it might be people with stores, might be whatever it is. It's going to impact some people negatively. There's no way around that. So they have to take into account what is going to keep driving the bottom line for them. And I think this free return business is what they think is probably the current status quo of a lot of e-commerce platforms. And it is. It is. It seems to be the way it's moving. So now you have to figure out, do you want to maintain top rated? And if you do, how do you price that into your business model, this cost of returns? Because you're going to, and you can see your return percentage, guys. Like you can go to your seller hub and see that. So you can kind of figure out, all right, if I sold 1,000 items this year and 4% of them got returned, you know, it's like 40 items. And I ship, you know, traditionally about this, it costs me this much to ship, then I know how much that's going to cost me this coming year if I offer free returns. I got to factor that in to my expenses. Factor it into my pricing. Maybe if you tick your prices up a couple percent, maybe if you sell higher average selling price items. I mean, that's what you got to do unless you don't care about top rated, which maybe we don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know if the big question a lot of people will have is, does top rated make a difference in your sales? And there's a lot of people in the chat right now saying they don't think it necessarily does. I'm not so sure it does either. I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical, but everybody's got to make that decision for their own business. Let's look at a couple more of these questions too. Let's see. The seam store says I average about 8 or 9 returns a month. Average shipping is about $7. After the discount, I net about $12 a month if I had to pay for returns. Yeah, so you've already done the math. I cannot do free returns, going to give up TRS. That's perfectly understandable, Yvonne. More reason to not offer free shipping. Yeah. Let's see. What else we got here? Lauren says, I think a lot of people will start charging for shipping and then offering free returns instead of everyone offering free shipping. Yeah, I mean, that could happen too. And that's something I've considered as well. And I've gone back and forth on it, on this free shipping on the front end business. Well, I don't know.
And didn't we switch to the 60-day returns a while ago anyway?
Yeah.
We've also never charged a restocking fee.
Nope.
You know, some friends of ours, Tino, actually mentioned that he stopped the restocking fee
a
couple months ago, a while back.
Right? I saw that.
And, you know, the whole 60-day return policy, that's kind of in keeping. On our own Facebook group, Kristen brought it up, that's a retail model. That the idea is, even in offering a 30, 60, 12-month return policy, the longer the return policy, the less returns. Like, that's what they're seeing, retail stores, right?
Right.
And so we haven't noticed offering that longer. Human nature is to procrastinate. So the longer return window actually could benefit us. So
yeah.
When we talked about once the 60-day return policy became a thing, we did it, and we haven't noticed an increase in returns.
No. And I think some people are talking about the promotional part of this free return business. I think you're right, Sadie. eBay is offering this as a promotional tool, but I think it's a promotional tool on the back end. It's not, I would doubt that eBay's strategy is, all right, seller so-and-so, hey, you should buy from this seller, or buyer so-and-so, you should buy from the seller over here because they offer free returns. Nope, I don't think that's it at all. I think what they're counting on is a buyer buys something, then they realize they can return it for free because it didn't work out for them, and they decide to come back to eBay again and again and again because they like that option. Not they're going to use it over and over, but it's like insurance. Like, oh, if this really doesn't work out, I can find items on here that I can return for free and not have to eat it. Now, will that encourage more free returns? In the sense that those people will keep coming back and buying, perhaps, yes. But is it because they really just want to screw over sellers and return items for free? No, I don't think that's the reason. I think it's just that they will see that that's a cool option eBay has, and they're like, oh, I can return items for free. So that would be my guess on what they're counting on, like the return. We all know in this business, guys, return business is huge. If you can make a good customer, they'll keep coming back over and over, right? And that's what you want. Lots of questions in here. Did you have an increase in sales with 60-day returns? Not really. I don't think so.
We did not have an increase in returns.
No increase in returns, no increase in sales. Whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Global shipping. Do we have to pay all the shipping when that shirt comes back from France? They will have specific situations for global shipping where you will not have to pay that return shipping. Like, they're going to have a separate set of options for you, I believe. So keep that in mind. Let's see what else we got here. If you think about with GSP, we don't pay shipping beyond Kentucky now. They handle it. That's true. That's true. So that's really all you're talking about anyway, is global shipping to there. It would be if you were offering shipping overseas, where if you're offering free returns, you might run into an expensive return situation. You ship something to, South Asia, and all of a sudden you got to send it back, and you're in the U.S., it's going to be expensive. All right, let's see what else we got here. There's some other things they talked about I wanted to cover.
Are you screen sharing again?
I'm screen sharing again. I'm going for another screen share.
And what's funny is what you guys can't see is he's moving the little mouse thingy around the screen, and you can't see that, but I can. So it's kind of funny because you're kind of like in front of your whiteboard and you're like pointing with the mouse, and they can't see it. So I like that you're highlighting the words as you go. That's a good thing. Right. I wanted to talk. That's good. I want to talk about the shipping or the guaranteed delivery. Let me see if I can get this to come up. So this is the guaranteed delivery page.
So now they're gonna streamline and simplify eBay label purchasing, as well as this guaranteed delivery will be available to more sellers. This is the idea, guys, that sellers, it will increase their visibility and buyers get their purchases in 3 days or less, guaranteed. So it's just to get things to people quickly. So with the handling time guarantee, sellers guarantee same day or 1 day handling, and eBay calculates and guarantees the delivery date. This is going to be available to more sellers starting in March. They're going to reduce the average number of transactions you need to get this. You just, Yeah, the number of transactions will be 100 transactions within the previous 12 months, so not too many. And you will need to maintain a late shipment rate of 3% or lower to qualify. And if they raise a case, eBay will cover any late deliveries to buyers through June 30th. After that, I think you have to meet your handling time commitment on this. And this will be another way to sort of to help your sales, is what they're saying. We'll see how that plays out. And then also on this page, there's going to be a new labels experience. I like how they put a new labels experience.
Like it's a ride at Disneyland.
It does look pretty cool, because I find the label screens, especially if you're doing a single item, to be a little wonky and a little ancient.
It's antiquated. It hasn't really evolved.
Right. And they show you a screen share of what it'll look like. And this looks pretty cool. A little bit simpler with some graphics instead of just the actual descriptions and so on.
So it's like emojis. We're making labels based on emojis.
Yeah, and you don't have to, guys, now, I'm going to stop the sharing here. So you don't have to, let's see, where is it? Let me scroll down. Oh, I don't see it on here. You don't have to buy, let's stop the sharing for a second. Stop sharing. You don't have to buy the labels through eBay now, but you do have to upload tracking to maintain that guaranteed delivery and so on. So that's a little bit of a workaround you'll have to figure out. So I like buying the labels through eBay, honestly. Like, it's just simple. I'm already there in the screen. I don't know why. I know some people don't like doing that, but you get the discount, whatever, the stamps.com discount they give you. I think one of the things that's probably going to change with some of this, guys, is as eBay moves towards this third-party payment processor, moving away from it just being PayPal-centric and moving towards this other one they're going to take in-house. I think a lot of these things on eBay are probably going to simplify. I like simple, but eBay can't make it too simple because they have a lot of different types of sellers and buyers on their platform. And I think that hamstrings them a little bit. It's like they're always trying to juggle between these buyers who want this and the sellers who want that. And they're always trying to placate both those groups. And it's almost impossible. Like, I feel like it's impossible. So I think that, like, these delivery changes overall are probably okay. I don't see them as a huge change one way or the other. I mean, they talked about all this several weeks ago, that this was what was going to come down. Like, they didn't flesh it out. So this is not really anything too new, I don't think. But again, some minor changes there with the guaranteed delivery and so on, the labels, if that's affecting you. I don't know if it was or not. But I think that, I don't know. There's also, somebody asked about the inventory cataloging, and I'm not as up on that part, but basically it's the idea that they want to get everything in the catalog of their inventory catalog. It's starting with select categories, and it's going to move into probably all the categories eventually. And they want to have just everything in there so that buyers can find it easier. Like, guys, that's a good change overall. I know it's going to be annoying for some of us to figure out what's the UPC to this item that was made 18 years ago, and I don't know how we're going to navigate all that. We may need some more tools to do that. They may need to give us some access to some banks of UPCs that will correspond to those things. But having a catalog of items, I like the idea too. I don't know if anybody saw this or not, where it said they're going to, I don't know if I have shared this with you, they're going to show you, like, when a buyer searches for an item, they're going to show you, like, all the items that kind of match that criteria. It's not going to be just a search, like a big long list. It's going to be more like, hey, these are probably the best match given what our catalog says. So if you can kind of get in that catalog, instead of competing with, 87 listings that all got listed in the last 3 hours, it's going to narrow it down for a buyer to say, we think this is your best fit and have a better feel. Now, how that'll play out for all of us, I don't know. But on the face of it, like, I like that idea. You just got to figure out the formula.
Well, and weren't we reading that initially the catalog thing doesn't even apply to used clothing?
It doesn't apply to clothing at this point. That's right. It might. I know, but it might. Somebody asked what your shirt says.
It says, I'm not going to be gratuitous. It says, check your ego, amigo.
Good advice.
It's that kind of day today.
Let's see what other questions we had here. Lots of people in the chat. Thank you guys for showing up. 125 people here. That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate it.
Well, and did anybody notice that we have a more familiar background behind us?
Look what has made an appearance in the warehouse.
That would actually make a thumbnail, right?
I can't. Breaking news, you're hearing here first. I'm actually considering changing my inventory system. But anyway.
Out of necessity.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
So that's 2 of the jean racks behind us. Somebody may or may not have bull in a china shopped it this morning and said, let's just do it. And so here we were at dark 30 loading.
It was not that early.
Jeans. I was in my pajamas still. And if I hadn't helped, you would have just like bulldozed through the whole thing. Lord knows there would have been jeans strapped to the roof of the van.
There would have been. There would have been. It's gonna get bigger. So. But
the plan is 2 more trips, and all of the jean thingies will be here. And then shoes are next, right?
Right. We still got more to go, and then there's some other hanging and.
Yeah, and logistically, the reason he's thinking about changing the system, it's a little precarious stacking them. I'm kind of looking up above my head if I look cross-eyed right now, but it's a little precarious stacking them 7 tall on each one of those shelves, and there's 2 piles back to back.
Yeah.
We've discovered that if they fall on the ground here in this warehouse, we can keep it as clean as can be, but it's still going to get dusty.
It's gonna be dirty,
yucky. And we're kind of not looking forward to that. So we've actually been researching some bins or bucket or lidded giant Tupperware thingies to maybe bin store them in instead on top of shelves or something.
Yeah, I'll lose some of my storage per shelf, but I'll be able to protect them a little better from the dust and the elements. It's a sad day when I have to just potentially blow up my inventory system. Not blow it up. Actually, I'm not going to change that much. That's what's interesting about it. If you do your inventory system the right way, even if you do start organizing in a different way, I'm just going to make another column on the spreadsheet for where they are in the new system. Not going to change any tags, not going to change anything on eBay. Just going to say, hey, these jeans are in this bin, these jeans are in this bin, and so on and so on. And so when we sell them, we'll be able to just look right on the list and say, oh, they're right there.
And just show yourself some grace, because I guarantee you, as a result of this move, something is going to get, like, we have been pretty good about matching up the numbers and the columns and the shelves and the whatevers, but something is going to get out of whack. Can we just say it out loud? Something's going to get lost, and we're going to have to look through everything later to find it.
It's going to happen. And we are going to give you guys a little more of a tour
on Friday.
On Friday. We've actually made some more changes in here today. This space is really starting to open up, and we just aren't quite ready to do it quite yet. And it's actually going to be raining the next 2 days here, so it's like everything outside is a little more complicated.
Well, and I couldn't help but think when we were talking about, how the platform changes, whether it's Posh, eBay, Etsy, whatever, Amazon, you always have a choice, right? You either go right along with it and adapt, or you go take your toys and go play in somebody else's sandbox. And I couldn't help but think when we were talking about that earlier that, one of our adaptations would be we'll just start selling all the thingies locally because we had—
It's been fun.
Yes. So yesterday, and we can't really show you because we've kind of placed all the rolling racks in our way, or we'd like what. So we're going to show you on Friday. But Ben, i.e. through his consignment dealers here, sold all of his sports cards yesterday. A local guy actually drove an hour and bought every single card we had, right?
Yep.
And he had to come back twice with 2 vehicles to get it all. Yeah, we weren't joking. It was a mountain of
Thousands.
cards. Thousands.
Yeah, he got a good deal. I feel like we got a good deal. And, you know, it was great to move them all at once. But, you know, we'll see.
And we're kind of, and if we could sell all the thingies locally and avoid, you know, paying the fees and the shipping and the, it was all cash, et cetera, I'd be all about that, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, local, man, I tell you guys, I don't know how many of you in the chat and so on are selling locally, but if you haven't with certain items, it is the bomb. So I would never sell smalls locally, like things that were just, you know, $10 or something. It's just not, you know, it's just not worth it. You know, the trouble, and you get like 14 questions about it and you got to go meet somebody. But when it's a big batch of items, sure, why not?
Well, and Wes said that was easy, right?
Yeah, we literally sold them in about 2 or 3 days from when they got listed. The cool thing is we had some of them on eBay. We had one smaller bundle of unopened card packs here locally, and then we had the big, bulky bundle of items that were most of them were loose. This guy bought them all. So I took down the listings on eBay.
Well, and that's who this guy.
That's who we wanted.
This guy was our target because he's going to resell them somewhere down the line
for sure.
Anyway.
And I knew that.
And we knew that, and we sought him, or the idea of him, out. And I mean, God love him. Give him credit for when he showed up, you know, asking the question, you know, what else do you have? Like, what else do you have? And he knew that we sold on eBay. You know, we didn't dance that dance. We didn't pretend to be something we weren't.
Yeah.
And we, you know, we showed him all the good thingies too. And so we ended up just packaging it all together.
Yeah.
And I'd say everybody involved was happy.
I think that, you know, if you were going to sell cards, especially a big bulk of them, bundle like that, I would absolutely do it locally if you can, if that's an option for you. You might not live somewhere where there's just not enough local. You'd be surprised how far people will drive. This guy drove about an hour to get here. So people will, you've got the right deal. And the cool thing is too, once they drive an hour and come to you, you're going to make a deal unless you just are adamant you're not, because they don't want to drive back empty-handed. So that was a good thing too.
Motivated sellers, motivated buyer for real, right? Absolutely.
Some other comments here in the chat too. I'll be losing TRS because I'm not going to offer free returns. I don't blame you. We are I think there's probably a 75% chance I'm going to do the same thing. Free returns, like we said at the beginning of the show, if you are just now watching, you know, check that out at the beginning, because we started talking about the free returns pretty early on in the show. They're expensive, no doubt about it. And if you're shipping, you know, heavier items and so on, and over any distance, it's going to cost you some money for sure. And you have to decide if the discounts you get from TRS are really worth the cost of all those free returns. And they might not be. And if they're not, you should just get rid of TRS.
Oh, I know something we didn't talk about though. Some of our bin buying friends were talking about, with this new plan, do you have to take the free return, or can you tell them just to keep it? Remember we were talking to Luke about that the other day.
Yeah.
That, I don't want to tell the story, but he actually went to the post office. There was a return that he owed postage on it, and he gave it to the post office because it would cost him more to.
That's true. You could tell them to keep the item, but you still have to refund them all the money. You're saying if like they want to return it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could.
Like what the option is.
Yeah, because if you got to pay for the label and then they ship it back to you, you know, now you're out that label cost, and that might have knocked out. I mean, this all speaks to guys also looking for more and more profitable items to sell. And I don't mean just return on investment. I mean actual dollars. Because, you know, if you're selling $20 items and you've got to eat a $7 return charge on a shipping label, that hurts a lot. On the other hand, if you're selling a $100 item, you got to eat a $7 return label. It still hurts, but not as much as it did at the $20 level. So think about that too. You know, if you want to keep the top rated plus, as somebody said, I guess to be totally accurate, then, you know, think about selling at a higher ASP, because that's going to help mitigate your actual return cost as a percentage of your business. So,
and it's top rated plus.
Right. Sadie said, I may be optimistic, but I'd like to believe most sellers practice good business and customer service and don't need hand-holding. Kind of defeats the purpose of owning a business and standing out. Sure. But, you know, you're playing an eBay sandbox. It's their rules and it's their business model.
Well, but Sadie brings up a good point. Why I got on my little soapbox earlier to begin with is some sellers, though, Sadie, don't stay in a constant sense of wanting to or seeing the value in staying educated or staying current in whatever the policy is, right?
Right.
How often do people enter chats like this and say some comment like, oh, no, I can't afford to do that, when whatever that was never the policy to begin with. It wasn't relevant to their individual situation. Like, it all stems back to this knee-jerk reaction. We all get on this bandwagon out of hearsay, like, oh, it's the end of the world as we know it. Well, not exactly. Everything here, you have a choice, and there's consequences to all of those choices, and they're good consequence and bad consequence potentially, right?
So, to answer sort of the question that this show asks in the title, will small sellers, basically survive this? Like most questions like that, the answer is it depends. It depends. I mean, if you were turning massive volume and you had to eat returns, yes, it would be a percentage of your business. But because you're doing such big volume and so many actual dollars, it doesn't affect you the same way. Whereas on the other hand, if you're a smaller seller and you're not turning that kind of volume, and all of a sudden you're eating, $100, $200 a month in return charges, that hurts. That hurts for sure. I would say it goes back to, does the top rated status really matter to you? If it doesn't, then don't offer free returns. You don't have to. 2, are you selling at a high enough average selling price that eating a return cost is not going to kill you from time to time? And remember, like, you can think about like that return cost gets spread out over the cost of all the items you sold. Because if it cost you $10 on that one item, but if you sold 100 items, it gets spread out over the cost of all those 100 items, that one return. So it's not like, and you can look at it that way. You can say, well, what percentage is it of all my sales? But I think that if you're a smaller seller and you're kind of on the edges of the margin anyway in what you're making, and a lot of us, and I consider us a small seller, I think a lot of us are small sellers. If you're kind of on the edges of that margin anyway, this hurts a little bit for sure. And you probably want to just give up the top rated deal and go after, no free returns. Because we don't know yet. We don't know for certain if it's going to affect your sales. If it doesn't affect your sales, there's no reason to do free shipping or free returns. If it doesn't affect your sales, if your sales stay the same, there's no reason to do it. It just costs you money for no good reason. But we don't know the answer to that yet. And as this rolls out, I think by like this time, maybe next year, we'll kind of have an idea, because we'll have many, many months of data to kind of look at and see, did it affect this group or that group? Do people who offer free returns, do they get, higher search preference? Do they get a higher sell-through? We don't know. But I would say if you're in doubt, give them up. Don't do your free returns. Honestly, if you're in doubt about it, don't do them. I mean, you can always offer it if it turns out that it's hurting your sales, right? But you for sure will not have to pay that money if you go ahead and give them up and don't even go down the free return trail right off the bat. And then you can always decide later to do it if your sales seem to have slipped. Let's see what everybody else is saying. Life's about changing and adapting and regrouping and moving forward. Yep, absolutely agree. eBay always screws a seller. I don't think that's true, Joe.
Joe.
You don't think that's true either. You wouldn't sell there.
You always come in towards the end and have something funny to say.
I don't think it's true they always screw the seller. But anytime they change, it does make it, you've got to pivot for sure. And this is a change. It's potentially some big changes. Next year, eBay will have new rules.
No doubt.
For sure. They will. I think they'll have new rules this year. By fall, we'll have a new set of rules. That's usually the way it works. Every 6 months or so, they're changing things. Ubiquitous says it doesn't affect sales. I've tested over the past few months. Yeah, I don't know that it does either. I kind of agree with you, Ubiquitous. I mean, it's hard because we don't have a big, huge data set, but I tend to agree. I don't know that it changes it at all. Illinois Picker says, instead of small sellers, I look at it, will I survive? The answer is yes, whatever it takes. It's a great attitude. You know, you're gonna make it happen no matter what happens to the model. I kind of see an angle where it could create more bad sellers. The benefits may just not be there to do it, and ultimately the buyers suffer. Possibly. I mean, I don't know. eBay has a way of like flushing out bad sellers over time. Sometimes it takes a while, but it's possible, of course. In 2025, we'll be having the same chat.
No. Are we going to still be doing this in 2025?
I don't know. That could be a whole new show. Will you be selling on eBay in 10 years? What do you guys think about that topic? Like, can we even think 10 years ahead? I'm not sure I can.
I'm going to be in Banff. In an RV, Banff.
She's going to be in Banff in Canada. I don't know where I'll be. Will I be there?
Maybe.
She might let me in her RV. She might not. It's possible either way. Mm-hmm. If sellers lose their TRS, some might not care as much about metrics and the overall experience can go down. You know, that's possible. I mean, these are just hypotheticals we just can't really answer. And, you know, it's fun to speculate about them, but ultimately, if it's so hypothetical like that, like where do you, I mean, I guess the bigger question is this going to make you quit selling on eBay? And if you ask me that question, I would say no, but yes. And what I mean by that is it will not make me quit selling on eBay, but it will make me continue to diversify the ways we're selling. Mm-hmm. Because as you guys know, we've been pushing that to you guys for months now, like diversify your revenue, because when eBay or Amazon or whoever comes down the mountain with these changes, it's disruptive. You know, you've got to pivot, and maybe you have to pivot in a way that's not comfortable for you or doesn't make sense for your model. So you have to have some other way to offset the income that you're earning from eBay, or if just, you know, you have to leave the platform altogether, and you might. 2025 margaritas and cigars and poker, Sadie, you forgot that. It'll still be around. RV Life 2028. These are great. It won't be available in 10 years. It might not. Who knows? That's a great point. eBay might not even be available in 10 years. It might not be available in 5 years. This all could be different in 5 or 10 years.
But we talk often about diversification. We talk often about, even if you have a regular full-time job, that's putting all of your financial eggs in one basket. So that's why a lot of people will sell eBay when they get home from work. Or that's why we sell it. Like, we don't only sell on eBay. We can't. Can you imagine if you were at the whim of only one platform, only one stream of income? We recommend against that. Definitely diversify. And then, you know, when things like this happen, it's not as sharp. Like, it doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I would say, too, if you're a small seller, which is what we talked about in the title of this video, it's easier for you to adapt to these changes in a way.
Oh, sure.
Because when you have to pivot, you're not suddenly doing something that's affecting thousands of sales a year or hundreds of sales a month in a lot of occasions. You're doing something that's only affecting a few sales, or you don't have a huge inventory, or it's not a problem for you to go list on another platform or sell it locally because it's not a huge, I mean, in some ways it's easier when you're small like that. It's easier, you know, it's a well-known economic fact that smaller companies can be more nimble and pivot when the market changes. When you're a big, huge company, it's very difficult to make a big change because it's expensive to make that change across your brand, across your platform, across all your outlets. So if you're a smaller seller and this change impacts you negatively on eBay, pivot, do something different, either on eBay or another e-commerce platform, or maybe locally, whatever you're doing. I just think it's a little bit easier. It might be easier on you somebody said could be said that it's easier for a large seller. It's easier in the fact that financially it might not affect you the same way, but it's not easier to change when you're a large seller. I mean, if you have to suddenly take 3,000 listings or 5,000 listings and push them over to Poshmark, you know, or some other platform, or take them to Shopify, or decide that you're no longer going to sell heavy items that have been your bread and butter and you've got a ton of them, like, what do you do with the ones you have? Like, you still got to do something with them. Like, we could stop selling jeans tomorrow, but what do we do with the jeans we have? We got to do something with them.
Well, and we talked in, you know, potentially changing the way we do inventory. I actually challenged you this morning with, all right, how many jeans are behind us right now? Roughly, ballpark, how many?
Oh, right there?
Like right now.
Maybe 100.
Okay. So if we're thinking about changing the way we inventory jeans, right? We better do it now, thinking ahead. Like if our goal still remains to get to 2,000 jeans, 500 shoes, it's going to be painful and potentially, well, it's going to be expensive in the moment perhaps.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a lot less expensive to change the system now based on, you know, the however many jeans we have total than it is if we wait until we get the warehouse full of the things and then go to change it. And when I speak about, you know, how painful it's going to be or how expensive it's going to be, I'm also counting our time in there. You know, our time is valuable. And so if we're having to spend all of this time literally restacking, restocking, re-indexing, re-everythinging the things behind us, then that compounds the cost it will be to us. So it's better to do those things when you're smaller, when you're in this moment, than it would be to wait. So try to, always be thinking a year or 5 or even 10, like, where do you want to be? Where do you see your systems? Where do you see your growth? Like, try to be proactive, and educating yourself is a great way to do it. You have to stay on top of these things or you're going to get left behind.
You don't want to make change just to make change. But Karen's exactly right. And then if you can make the changes early on, when you're not as involved, you're not as entangled, you're not as invested in a certain system or way or product or sourcing or platform, and then it's much easier to pivot, which is what I was saying about the smaller sellers.
Exactly.
It's always easier to pivot when you're smaller than when you're a large seller, because you're very invested at that point. Like if we were somebody like BHFO and now all of a sudden we have to offer free returns to maintain our status, and we're selling thousands of items a month, which means we're probably getting hundreds of returns a month. That just became, it's not a big expense in the big bottom line, but it's a logistical challenge. It's a logistical challenge because now you've got all these items coming in, potentially that you're going to have these returns coming in. You're going to have to send labels. You're going to have to plan for that accounting. And BHFO or somebody like that could go off of eBay and take their tens of thousands of listings and move to another platform. But that would be difficult. And think, they have 100 some employees and systems set up to deal with eBay, not set up to deal with some other platform. So it would be very difficult for them to pivot and change. So they'll just accept the cost of doing business. And it's like, oh, well, we're going to have to eat free returns now because it makes sense for us. And we'll have to change, as little as possible. But if you're a one woman show or one man show, then you can just, pivot very easily.
I just had this crazy thought.
What?
Like, at what point would a BHFO or a Linda stop selling on eBay? Like
when you got thousands and thousands of listings and that's an interesting question.
Like
what would make them stop?
What would make a big seller? Like, why don't they just sell on their own? Like, why even bother? Like at one point.
Well, Michelle points out they're already on other platforms, which is true, but they still have a huge presence on eBay, and it's like, that's obviously driving a big chunk of their sales. And it's even how people find them, so I don't know what would make them change. Like it would have to be, they either have to find a better opportunity or the eBay environment would become so toxic for them that they couldn't continue, or some of both. But that would be a pretty unusual set of circumstances, but it could happen
and
for sure.
What I'm talking about though is not so much the fact that they sell on other, like at what point do they become their own platform? Because arguably they have the following, they're big enough.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and they do some things to do that, but they're covering all the bases. Because once you've learned a model, if it's successful for you and you can replicate it and you can grow it, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Why not do that? Like, you don't have to go out and reinvent the wheel, but you definitely want to keep diversifying to some degree so that if that one no longer is as viable as you want, you could go in those other directions.
My glasses are broken.
Sorry. I don't know. You broke them.
No,
Kaaren broke her glasses.
I just don't even
Some
know.
glasses were harmed during the making of this video. See what I did there?
We have to add that new
We have
disclaimer.
to add
we can
that,
no
so.
longer say that it's a glasses safe zone here.
Right. All right, guys. Well, look, I think that's going to do it for today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. We thank you for coming out. Check out the description down below for helpful links and so on, and things that will help your business. And we do appreciate that.
And if you're new to the channel or not subscribed, consider subscribing and hanging out with us more often. You can set a little alarm bell and it'll tell you when we're on or posting or whatever. And by all means, mateys, smash the like button.
There's the pirate for you. So again, check out the eBay seller update if you haven't already. It's in your eBay inbox. Read it through maybe a couple times because there's a lot of information in there. And then you got some decisions to make, guys, about how you're going to move forward. But as always, do what's right for your business, and don't let, you don't have to cling to a failing model if some of these decisions don't make sense for you.
Well, and educate yourself. Don't just go by what you hear somewhere else.
Oh yeah,
especially in social media. So
that's a great
stay
point.
On top of it.
There's always a lot of craziness out there, but you definitely should read it for yourself and really think it through. So.
Go directly to the source. So as always, this is Just Ask Kaaren
And Prof Sales
saying good sales to you.